Water problem is when they're small, everybody seems to want to work with them, but when they get to a certain age and they become adults, they're not as much fun to work with anymore. And there's no place for them to go after school.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute, y'all. Look, y'all know it's been a minute since I've been on this thing.
It's all good.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Realistic Vibe, where the vibe is always positive. And welcome to my Autism Awareness Virtual Symposium. How everybody's doing on today. So we got a lot to talk about today. If you haven't seen the clips that we had on yesterday, we talked about the 7 stages of grief, how I'll say 100% of autism parents go through. We talked about that, and we gave 10 tips for families to deal with the autism diagnosis on yesterday. So make sure you guys check that out. So first, I would like to introduce my friend who did we meet in a group or something? I forgot. What we meet? I forgot.
We met in a group like many, many years ago.
Yeah, it was an autism group that we met in, and we have become like just the best friends on Facebook. And she's been on my show several times, and it wasn't always about autism, because I think that one time when we was talking about relationships, baby, that was a steamy one.
There was a whole panel of it.
So guys, I want to introduce to you a very, very good autism mom that I have learned to love and admire, her and her son. I love seeing their post on Instagram, not Instagram, but on Facebook. Truly, truly, truly amazing mom and son. And that's Seth in the back. If you can see him, he's back there. He's hanging out. Hey, Seth. He's just hanging out. So guys, I want to give a little hand clap in the chat for Sherri Savage. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know what my sound man is right now, Mr. He said. We not here yet, yo. So okay, we clapping. Shout out to Brittany B. So Sherri, why don't you introduce yourself and your handsome son back there, and tell us a little bit about your journey.
My name is Sherri. I'm going to be 51 on next Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And I'm a single mom, obviously, of that one. He is 19. He'll be 20 in December. Mm-hmm. I have been doing this alone since he was 8 years old. And he is my pride and joy, but it hasn't come without some hiccups, obviously. He is high functioning. So, there's so many levels on the spectrum, and he is high functioning. Mm-hmm. So that does make things a little easier, but there are still so many complications involved. But, we make do, we push on and keep going. That's what you have to do.
Indeed, indeed. So, how old is Seth now?
19.
Ooh. He's getting up there.
He's making plans for his 21st birthday, and I'm like, you got another whole year you have to go.
Okay. Well, look, okay, so if anybody don't know, my son is 21. Ooh. So he's up. So we went down here in Louisiana, so he's about to ready to drink. We gonna go to Mardi Gras.
He wants to go to Vegas. That's what he wants to do for his birthday.
Tell Steph he can hang out with Caleb with Mardi Gras on the parade route with some daiquiris.
I'm down for it. I'm back down to Louisiana. I love Louisiana.
Oh my goodness. He gotta come down from Mardi Gras when he get 21, he can drink.
Right, exactly.
Oh my goodness. So let's get started, because I know you have some things to do, and so we just want to get through this as much as possible. Okay. I did find some clips, and I have a little bit of things that we're going to talk about. So for those who don't know, both of our sons are autistic. Seth is high functioning, and my son is at level 2, meaning that he doesn't need a lot of supervision, but he does need some supervision on certain things. So let's talk about transition. Transition, what does transition mean? At the age of 16 years old, your child's school should begin the process of discussing transitional services entering adulthood. This discussion should include education, employment, and independent living. So here is where me and Sherri are. We're at the transition stage. And so I think let's go through one of these clips first. So this is Sherri and Seth, and if those of you aren't on my personal Facebook page, that are because I got a lot of people blocked, child. So, and then a lot of my personal pictures are on just friends or family only, so a lot of people don't get to see Mr. Caleb. So this is my son, Mr. Caleb, when he just graduated high school. So, sis, let's talk about when the bus stops coming.
Everything changes.
Let's talk about those last couple of months of school. What was that like for you?
Oh, for us, it was a roller coaster because, I mean, it was up and down in so many ways. He had to, of course, you have to have all your ducks in a row to graduate, and he
Exactly.
was graduating with a general education. He wasn't going to, go less. He wanted a general education.
Right.
So we had to make sure he was passing this, he was passing that, he was passing this, and then it was up and down. Did he, make magna cum laude or not? And he did. That was the medal around his.
Awesome.
Yes, so I was very, very proud of him. Very proud mama moment. And then all of a sudden, you had a couple meetings with around here. We have what's DRS, Department of Rehabilitation Services. And we'd had a couple meetings with them, trying to figure out what we want to do. For Seth and I, we felt the best thing for him to do was to take a year off because school was so traumatic for him.
Yeah.
I mean, every morning was a battle to get him up to go to school. I mean, yeah. We can't even go into how traumatic it was for him. He hated school with a passion. So I felt a year off be the best option, because he needed to regroup and he needed to understand by going to a trade school, it's not having all of these other things going on as well. It's just learning what you want to do.
Right.
And he couldn't process that immediately. He has only started processing that probably in the past 3 or 4 months. So, but it's one of those things of working with the teachers. Not all the teachers wanted to work with us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Working with the admin. Not all the admin wanted to work with us. It was a continual battle. And let me tell you, when we got to the last week of school, there was just so much relief to get to that point.
Right.
So, and now, now once school's done, it's another whole transition and battle and everything changes.
Yeah. I know, for me, for Mr. Caleb, so as you know, we were dealing with the passing of my mom, and then we went into COVID first. Well, okay, let me back up. We moved to Baltimore first from Louisiana. That was a transition, moving from one school to the other. And then as soon as we got here, I started taking care of my mom, and then COVID hit. So it was outside of school. I was homeschooling and a hospice nurse. Yeah. It was a lot going on.
We don't even want to talk about the COVID year of homeschooling. That was a nightmare in itself.
It was wild because, the homeschooling part, getting Mr. Caleb to focus on the laptop with the class. Yeah, that was hard because he was like, I'm home, so I'm on YouTube time, mama. So I don't know why you want me to do some homework. He was not having it. I think with the whole his senior year, of course, Caleb was doing well in school, on the road, doing well. So we had a little bit of issue with getting the transitional services there, like the work programs and things like that. There was some paperwork missing, or the person quit, or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm so grateful for his teacher, Miss Michelle. I'm going to be interviewing her later on this week. she was awesome. Her and Miss Erica, they really tried to make sure they had all the services, but then we decided to come back home. So, so it was like I had to transition all of that to Louisiana. So yeah, here we are. But he ended up graduating high school. So I'm very, very proud of him of that. And the only sad part is, you know, I wish that my mom would have held on just a little bit longer so she could see her big boy, because Caleb was her little bean, walk across the stage. But other than that, we didn't have too many problems. Now that I'm here in Louisiana, I have to learn all the services here in this parish, and I'm finding out that it's not a lot. I will have to go outside of the parish that I'm in to get the services that he needs. So it's a work in progress. So yeah, it's a work in progress. So let's go to the next slide. Let me take this comment down, guys. Hold on. I don't know where. Oh, there it is. So let's talk about a parent's fear. What will happen to my child? Will my child be able to find a job? Will he be able to go to college? Will my child be able to find support after he aged out of school? Will he live in a group home or independently? What's going to happen, if I pass away? Who's going to support him financially? Where is he going to live? Like in my case, Caleb's biological father is not in his life. So what happens if something happened to me and my husband? So that's a thought, that we have too. And then those are like sad, that's high functioning. It's like, okay, will he ever find love? Will I have grandkids? Like,
Yeah.
And again, who's going to take care of him, when we're gone? So these are some of the questions that that goes through our minds. So Sherri, would you add anything to this list?
No, I think you've pretty much hit all of them, because I have asked myself all of those questions at one point or another, sometimes multiple times.
Okay.
And I don't think there's anything else I would add to that, because you're covering all of the key components of what we struggle with as parents.
Yes, most definitely. So just for the viewing audience, I just want to go over a few things about some of the things that Sherri and I and other autistic parents that are going through this transitioning to adulthood, some of the things that we definitely have to talk about. And one of the things is the most important thing I think is health outcomes. Who's going to, because we're going to get into it, like a lot of times when they age out, services become very slim. So healthcare, education, employment, self-advocacy, safety. Safety is a big one. We're gonna talk about that. Safety is a big one. Daily living, daily routine, and social relationships. So, and as we know, especially in with young women and Black autistic young adults, there's a big gap. A lot of disparities are found in these key areas. According to a study in 2022, our young women and Black autistic young adults fall behind in this area. And on Sunday, we're going to be talking about the color of autism on Sunday. We're going to get deep into autism in the Black and brown community. So make sure you guys tune in on Sunday. So what's up ahead for me, for my child and me? So again, income, a lot of our kids receive SSI or disability, transferring it over to, in some cases, fully under their control, or having a representative, the parent or someone they have in charge of it. You got to think about your health insurance. If you have government health insurance, and the way things are going now, who knows if you're going to have Medicaid or Medicare later, okay? And we'll do your health insurance, or their health insurance will cover his therapies, any transportation services, respite care services, residential care. These are some of the things that we definitely worry about. So you're worrying about government benefits, you're worrying about your own financial situation. As far as like my son, he's under my insurance. So my insurance pays for all his services. And we have a lot of parents that don't have that. They literally rely on the government benefits. And the way things are going, cross your fingers if you're still going to have it. That's a big thing you need to think about. Of course, lifestyle, living, what's going to happen when you and the father or the husband or you and the husband pass away? Do you have a will? Do you have power of attorney? Or do you have someone set up that's going to take over if and when something happens to you? And it doesn't even have to be death. You can become very, very sick where you have to be hospitalized. You need to think about who's going to take care and make sure that they are being taken care of, even if you're sick. You got anything to say about that, Sherri?
No, you hit on the one thing that I was going to mention is, becoming ill and
Yeah.
What happens when something happens to me and
Right.
I'm living and I'm doing
Exactly.
but I can't function for whatever reason. So.
Exactly. And I think a lot of parents, they think about the death part, but they don't think about like, what if I get sick? What if, I am like bedridden where I can't especially the parents that have like level 1 kids where they have
Yes.
to be watched 24/7.
And I'm very blessed because when I have been sick and laid up and things like that, Seth has been able to help me. He's been able to
Yeah.
keep me going. In fact,
Yeah.
he panics when I become, too ill.
Yeah.
And it's, Mama, you're going to end up in the hospital. You can't do that. You need to slow down. So, don't you?
Well,
Yeah, he's back there grinning like, yep, I do it.
well, if anything goes on with me, Mr. Caleb just start praying. He coming in and lay hands on me quick. Be like, in the name of Jesus, what's going on, mommy? Thank God for our boys.
Yes, they care. They care very much.
Oh my goodness. So let's take a look at this clip that I found. This kind of goes into what we're going to talk about next. Let's find my clip. Let's see. So Sherri, what you want to talk about first? You want to talk about group home? Let's talk about puberty first, okay?
Oh,
all right.
Hello. We're 19. We're just now hitting that. We're just now getting to the point of being argumentative and
Okay, look, after this clip, it's gonna be story time. Okay. Lord Jesus. It's gonna be story time up in here. Oh Lord, help me. Okay, here we go, y'all.
I would love to be in Alexander's head just for a few hours. He is autistic. He is nonverbal. He's having a hard time going through puberty at this point right now, so he's having issues with the changes, but he's still my peaceful little Alexander. When you have a child with autism, you can see everything coming in. Everything is coming in, but it's going to the wrong places. Everything is too much. Touch can be overwhelming. Sound, change in routine. It's just, you're trying to raise like the most sensitive little person. I need to shave you soon, Xander. I'm not looking forward to that. So much of him is just a 14-year-old boy, but he can't go ride his bike. He can't hang out with his friends and, have airsoft guns and do all those, the things that he should be doing. No. Stop. No, we're not going to hurt the dog. No. So he's angry and he's sad and he doesn't understand why, and I truly feel for him. No headbutt. No headbutt. Nice, okay. He really has no outlet. He goes into the backyard and, he looks at the koi pond. Then he goes up to his room and he takes a shower. He's constantly just fluctuating between the few things that he is able to do independently that he likes. And I feel bad for him. It's also things like that that make you realize it's time for him to have a 24-hour staff. So, it's just time for someone to step in and be stronger and more awake than I am. And it hasn't been as hard to accept or deal with because we know what that process looks like and what it will mean. Alexander, just like Connor did, has outgrown our little family here. Connor, my oldest, is 19. Were you a good boy at school? Mm-hmm. And he has autism. He lives in the Rome Tradewinds residential facility. Luckily, in New York State, the school district pays for the education part of it if a child is disabled until they're 21. Insurance and Medicaid, because both of the boys are disabled, they're able to access basically state health care, which provides this opportunity for them to live in this, in a safe environment. It's not elaborate, but it's comfortable and it's fully staffed, and Connor has what he needs. But I wonder about that with Alexander when he does make that move, if it's this summer or this fall or next spring. Again, there's that emptiness, that void of, you suddenly have to re-find yourself as a mom because you're the sun or you're the earth revolving around this.
That was hard.
What are your thoughts on the video?
That was hard watching that.
Hmm.
I feel very blessed. I honestly feel eventually down the road, not anytime real soon, Seth will be able to live out on his own.
Yeah.
But there was a point when he was beginning of high school, I didn't think that was going to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
So I know all those feelings all too well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. And it's hard to find the services needed.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you, depending on where you live, some states and cities have awesome resources. Like I can say that North Carolina was the best. That's where when I found out Caleb had autism, like when he was first diagnosed, and well, even though the doctor was crazy, she didn't like when she diagnosed me, she didn't tell me nothing. Like she just gave me a pamphlet, like, "Here, your child has autism. All right, okay." Ma'am, what does that mean? But once I got with his pre-K teacher and other moms and stuff, I learned that and actually if you Google it, North Carolina is one of the best states for services for autism. So I was happy that I was there when I first found out his diagnosis. So I was able to get a lot of services to get it going, like his therapies and things like that, and then transfer it over whenever I moved. But this was hard to watch, and she has two on the spectrum. That's hard. Just dealing with one on the spectrum, but then you're talking about two boys on the spectrum. What do you think about the fluctuation? Because she was talking a lot about the fluctuation of his emotions and stuff because he's going through the puberty. Why are you looking like that, Sherri?
There's nothing worse than to have this meltdown happen, this explosion happen, because he's in that teen mentality and he can't figure out how to go about doing it or voicing it. And then all of a sudden, 15 minutes later, it never happened.
Right.
And I'm still in my feels.
Right, exactly. It's like, what just
like, and it's like, why are you upset, Mama? I'm like,
right. I'm like, what is she doing?
Yeah, I mean, we have those moments. It's so up and down. It fluctuates so badly. And like I said, we have just recently hit this stage where it's that kind of puberty kind of, we went through when we were 13,
Right. They're a little bit behind on the curve.
Exactly. So it's been a little bit of a struggle, and I try to take deep breaths, and one day we had this huge fight, and I told my son, I'm so disappointed in you. You don't walk out and leave in the middle of a fight. You just don't. You know, you end things on a good note. You don't ever end things on a bad note.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's a learning curve for him. It's a learning curve for me. How to deal with it, how to try not to lose my cool in the moment.
Right. Yeah.
Because, you know, my emotions run high and as well. So it makes it hard.
Yeah. So my story is a little bit different. So I think Mr. Caleb was in middle school, and that's when we kind of knew that he was getting ready. He was going through the puberty stage because he started to get aggressive. Not to the point that he was like, you know, beating up people. Because if y'all don't know, my son is like 6'3" now. So just imagine he was like 6 foot in high school. So in middle school. So yeah, he's a big boy. But he had an episode in school where the gym teacher was telling him to do something, and he was not. It was against his routine, and he was not about to have it. And he choked the teacher. Oh God!
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I was like, oh my God! So they called me at work, and I'm rushing. I'm like, I knew he did what? Oh my God! So then we knew, like, okay, he has a lot of hormone things going on, because that was not like him at all. Like, he never done that. And so that aggression just popped up out of nowhere. And I felt so bad for the teacher, because like when I went to the school, you could see his handprint. His handprint was around his neck. I was like, oh my God. So for those that don't understand, Mr. Caleb does have a superpower. Well, he has many superpowers. One of his superpowers is superhuman strength. It takes 4 nurses, 2 doctors, myself, and Pop to get to hold him down for the doctor even like touch him. He's that strong.
And
shot. When we were all holding him down, he was moving the gurney. Like, what is?
Now, see, the worst issue we had in school is when he would get upset and frustrated, he would just walk out.
Oh, he just been like, I'm out, peace.
You know, and it was fine when we lived in Baltimore. You know, he had what's called a flash pass, so he could just, you know, walk out and go to guidance counselor.
Yeah.
When we got to West Virginia, they didn't want to honor that. And that was how he decompressed. That's how he got through the situation. So I was being called on a regular basis. You know, he can't just keep doing that. He can't just keep doing that.
Exactly.
You know, and we had an incident with a kid in class breaking his headphones.
Right.
And he walked right out of the school.
Exactly. Oh, see.
So,
Wait a minute, brother. How you put her down there? She gotta come up here. Oh. Oh, Sherri, I know you're about brother. He said he's going to join us because he has some important questions to ask us. So I just want him to drop up so I won't forget the questions. So I have another puberty story. I don't know if you've experienced this yet, but I experienced this when Caleb was like, I think he was like 13. So you know how us mamas, we just bust in our kids' room, you know? I need a fan because I'm ashamed to even say this. I busted into his room and he was doing some things to his thing.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Let me tell you. Okay, I was like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? So I was like, I called my dad. I was like, Daddy, what's supposed to do? He was doing things. I was like, he was just, what am I supposed to do? He was like, leave that boy alone, let me do his thing.
Exactly, leave him alone.
Child, I was in shock. I was like, oh my God, what did you do? And so King told me, he was like, just make sure he wash his hand, baby. Just make sure he wash his hand. So I will always say, I was like, oh make sure Caleb wash his hands. Okay, I mean that's so make sure you wash it. So those are my two puberty stories. Okay, I can't. Brother, you had a comment, a question in the chat. What was your question? You on mute?
How you ladies doing? Thank y'all for having me up here.
Thank you for
It
joining
was
us.
two questions I put. The first one was, how do we best support our child's individuality and autonomy while also providing the structure and guidance they need to navigate a world that may not always understand their differences?
You want to answer that, Sherri?
That's loaded. Okay, so with Seth, I have always told him he needs to be himself. He needs to pursue his dreams. He wants to be a mechanic. He pursues his dreams. But I have also made it very, very clear that there are going to be people who are going to always judge him because he doesn't think and act like everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I've tried to make him very aware that he is going to, unfortunately, even in today's age, still have to mask when he's out in the world. And
Exactly.
it's really hard. It's unfortunate. No one wants to do it, but and there's days when he's masked so hard for a couple days solid that he comes home and just curls up in bed next to me, because he's just exhausted from masking.
Right.
But it's one of those things, you have to allow them to have their dreams. You have to encourage their dreams, even on lower spectrum ones, because you don't want to ever have them feel like they are not worthy.
Exactly.
They're
Right.
just as worthy as we are. So I've always tried to encourage him, and I've always, pushed him, let's try this, let's try that. And when he gets discouraged, I'll say, okay, just take a deep breath, let's step back, and we regroup, and we, move forward in another way.
Yeah.
But it's hard, and I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. It's just one of those things that as a parent, you've got to stand by them, and you've got to be their pillar.
For me, I think one of the things I always tell parents to quote unquote bank on their strengths. So the things that they're strong on, whether it be social, whether it be intellectual. So like Mr. Caleb, he's very musically inclined. So I make sure that I put him in all things music, so that that he can gain some independence and some type of individuality, if that makes sense. So I think making sure you learn what is your child's quirks or what they're best at would definitely help them learn that, okay, it's okay that I'm different, but I know how to do this. You can do it, but I can do it better. So I think that's important as well. And just like Sherri saying, making sure you're supporting them, making sure that they're loved, because a lot of times kids would think, okay, because I'm different, nobody's going to like me, nobody's going to love me, nobody's going to be my friend, that kind of thing. And that can cause them to get into depression, isolation. So making sure that you encourage them and, let them know, just because you are, you have a little bit of differences from everybody else doesn't make you, a bad person or, not a loved human being. So yeah, that's what I'll answer to that question.
Thank you. And I have one more before I let you guys finish up this masterful information that y'all are giving away. This last question says, how can I balance advocating for my child's needs and rights while fostering their independence and self-advocacy skills, empowering them to navigate challenges and advocate for themselves?
As an adult, as my son being an adult, it's become much easier because he is now out in the workforce. He is now, sorry, my cat's having a sneezing fit. He's out in the workforce, so he has to learn to advocate for himself. I'm always going to bring awareness. I mean, I carry everything, everything at autism everywhere, and I'm very open about my son being autistic. But I can't be there when he's at work and say, you can't do this to my son because he doesn't process like that. As much as I wish I could, I can't. So he has to learn, but my son is high functioning, so it's a little bit easier. Lower
Mhm.
functioning is harder. I know that there's work groups and work advocacies out there, because I have a friend who fosters 3 autistic children, and they
Wow.
all are in work groups,
Okay.
and they all have, they go to work with them, and they talk to the bosses and say, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this. Whereas, but Ellen is still turned around and said, this is how it goes, this is how my child is, and
Mhm.
makes everyone know. So
Yeah.
you still advocate all the time, but at the same
Mhm.
point, the kids who can't advocate for themselves, you have somebody do it for them. When
Mhm.
they can't advocate for themselves, you kind of help them, you push them, you explain how to talk to a boss, you explain how to say things, you explain, that, instead of saying this, try saying this,
Right. Yeah.
so
Mhm.
that they learn how to navigate a workforce.
Mhm. So I can talk on the so my son is level 2, where he does need some assistance. So of course, just like Sarah said, you always advocate for them. However, I would definitely encourage parents to make sure you look into all the services in your area, all the groups that's in your area, other parents in your area, so that they can assist you and give you information on where your child can go, like for job training or classes and things of that nature. So, and then again, it goes back to what I said earlier about learning your child's skills and what they're really good at. So, like Mr. Caleb will be starting the job at the local grocery store. Why? Because Mr. Caleb likes to put things in order. It has to stay in order, So what Mr. Caleb, he's going to be a stock person because that's what he does. He likes to clean. He likes to put things in order. So learning what your child is good at would definitely help in that process.
Oh, and it's the same for my son. Even though he's high functioning, he wants to be a mechanic. He works
Mhm.
at AutoZone.
See, there you
So
go.
you still have to stay
Um,
right in line. You have
Sam,
to.
I need my oil change. Okay, Auntie need her oil change. I need you to
You
come.
know, he'd gladly take a road trip down there and do it for you. I promise you.
When you come down from Mardi Gras, you can change Auntie oil.
He changes my oil. He's done my brakes. He's done the fuel pump in this
Okay,
truck.
that's
I
what I'm
mean,
talking about. Built-in mechanic. But yeah, I think one of the things that I think one of the presentations I'm going to get into later on this week is about parents really doing the research and really getting the support and services that you need for your child. Because there are a lot of things out there for your kids in your area you may not even know because it's not widely publicized. So they're there for you, but you as a parent have to go out and seek it. It's not going to come to you. It's not going to come in the mail. It's not going to, you have to go find it.
and
Definitely have to
one
go find it.
one of the best things I did is when I moved over here to West Virginia, I
Mhm.
found other parents who had kids who were autistic.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I immediately connected with them so that I could learn,
Mhm.
what's available here in the area, because I've never
Exactly.
lived in West Virginia in my life and I didn't know what I was doing.
Mhm.
So I hooked up with them, and they're, people who've lived in an area for a long time, they're a wealth of knowledge, and you take advantage of that
Mhm.
and I pass it on to everyone else I meet too.
Exactly. And I think that was one of the reasons why I set up this initiative that I have many years ago, is because I saw the need for a community. I see other people have communities, but there were no communities for our kids widespread. Sharing information, having like one-on-one counseling, because I say this all the time. One of the reasons why I set up my initiative is because once they're diagnosed, all the attention goes directly to the kid. Early intervention is for the child. And I say, from my experience, the parents need early intervention too. And so that's why I set up my initiative. And it's I have information for the child, but I'm mainly focused on the parent, because without them, you can't get your child to the place that they need to be. So having those things in place is definitely will help the child get to a place where they need to be as well. So let me see. We have something in the comments. Hey Marcus, shout out to Marcus. Marcus have a question. So he says, I remember working with kids and young adults for a period in my life and experienced the life of working with people on the spectrum. Thank you, Marcus, for your service with our little ones. And he also says you got, yes, Marcus, indeed. I gotta give you a sound mode. That exactly. You are
All three of them.
absolutely right. All three, and we can add a couple of more too.
Yes.
Relentless. Shout out to hi Hank. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, I have another video I want to share, but let me go through this real quick. So, the majority of persons with autism, ADHD, are autistic adults from 18 and older in the United States. You have more adults that's on the spectrum than actually young children now. They're aging out now. And I'm going to do a live on this as well. We have more adults being diagnosed with autism than ever before. Okay, so I think this right here is why this number is high. Let me go to the next slide so you can see the actual numbers. So it says around 60% of young adults with disabilities have lived independently at some point since leaving high school. That's a really, really, really big number. I'm very surprised about that. And you know what I think, Sherri, is because I think from, for the past couple of years, early intervention and more services is becoming available to our kids now, and to make this possible.
Yeah.
Now, back in the day, like, the 70s, 80s, and 90s, that number was real low. It was like maybe 20%. I'll put the link in the description, guys, so you can see it. But I think because of the interventions and the new services and things, has now allowed that number to increase. So I have found 2 books that you guys can take a look at for those who are going through this transition. I found it to be very helpful. I will put the link in as well. Living Independent on the Spectrum and A Workplace Survival Guide. These are really, really 2 good books. So let's get to the videos because I know my girl has to leave in a little bit. All right. So we talked about puberty. Here's one of my fears. Group homes. And on tomorrow, I'm going to be talking with some caregivers tomorrow. They work in some group homes, and my sister, she used to be a caregiver as well. So that's going to be a really, really good conversation. But my fear is the group home thing, because we always see, these hateful clips on, social media where they're being abused and things like that. So let's take a look at this clip about group homes.
Michael Schwally is preparing breakfast at this group home.
It feels happy to be with my friends.
The 49-year-old lives with 6 other autistic adults. They all have responsibilities, like helping with meals, doing laundry, and cleaning up.
We try to have people living in situations where they're with their peers, who are doing similar activities, have similar levels of functioning, so they can communicate with each other and they can socialize with each other.
Eden Autism Services runs 11 group homes in central New Jersey. Each one houses 5 to 7 adults, and trained staff members provide 24-hour supervision. But getting into a home like this one is extremely difficult. In New Jersey alone, about 5,000 autistic adults are on a waiting list. Eden helps autistic residents find jobs in the community. Michael works part-time, cleaning at the local movie theater. What did you do with your money today?
Bought some coffee.
Experts say working gives autistic adults a sense of purpose.
It's about being a productive member of society. It's about being part of your community.
At the end of the day, Michael and his housemates enjoy a little downtime before dinner.
It feels happy to live here.
Why?
Because it's nice here.
He's been happy at this home for nearly 30 years. Ines Ferre for CBS News, Robbinsville, New Jersey.
Sherri, what do you think about the clip?
So I have a story to tell you. I told you about my friend. She fosters 3 autistic children. They're all adults. They're all, like between 25 and 40. So they're older autistics. She's a special ed teacher. Her one autistic daughter was in a group home. And it was so bad that she had to take her out of it. So she now actually has all 3 of her kids living in her house with her. It's terrifying. And I know that for you, that I know that for him, I'm not worried because I don't think that's going to come down to it. But that gentleman in that clip was very fortunate, and that's amazing. But I've heard and I've seen, and I know personal stories that's just not the same.
Yeah, it's like, that's one of the things me and my friend, we talked about. We will not do that. Put Caleb into a group home setting or whatever. And the older he's getting more independent. So he will be able to live in a little apartment. As long as he has his routine schedules, he's fine. And then someone can come and make sure he's good and bounce. He's good, whatever. So if he doesn't need like constant supervision. He has to have somebody looking after him all the time. So I'm blessed to, have that where he can live semi-independent, if you will. So, but yeah, I've been, the group home thing. And I mean, that just goes back to when we're seeing these clips and things of how, like this last clip, I think either brother or sis played it on their show where the aide was hitting the chop. Let me tell you, I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail.
Mama Bear, big time.
I'm going to jail. Look, okay. And when the news, look, Sherri, when that news person said that the family was noticing things for like months, child, what? Ain't no way I will be noticing bruises on my kid coming from school for months and I didn't do nothing about it. Oh, somebody was going to see me. My little 5 foot and all. Okay, we will be up in there. We will be rolling up.
Were terrified. The schools were terrified of me. The group homes would be.
Stop laughing at Auntie.
They were terrified of me. I swear the IEP coordinator went down to his civics teacher in the middle of the school year, his senior year, and told him, "Don't mess with this woman. She will screw our lives up."
Yes. Very much
going to the school board. I was going above everybody's head. I was done.
I mean, look, and I tell parents, look, you have to be present and involved in your kid's life in every facet. I don't even care if it's like an outing in the park. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't have the patience, they don't have the understanding, and they don't have the knowledge of your child. And so, you never know. That person might get on the wrong side of the bed, and then they just mad. They don't have no patience with your kid or whatever, and then they end up doing something to your child. We're not having that. No. And just like you said, like the schools, make yourself present. Because if you make yourself present in everywhere that they go, they know, like, child, that's Caleb gonna be messing with you.
Exactly. And that's how they were said. Don't mess with that because mama's a bear.
Okay, look, no, I don't know. And look, and it is crazy because I carried the same premise even when I was taking care of my mom and she was like in rehab or after she had a surgery. Baby, look, I will show up to that nursing home and like at all times of the day, and I do that when Caleb was in school. I will show up to the school unannounced. I will walk up to the class and look, you have to be on your P's and Q's with me because you never know where I'll be. And when they would hear them heels coming down that hallway, they knew what was up. So I tell them, look, you have to be present for your kid. You have to be present for your kids. So yeah. Brother, you got anything to say about the group home situation?
This is great information. I can understand what both of you ladies are saying and the consciousness that is required when it comes to caregiving. And this is the kind of work that the missus did for a while. She was very happy with herself, very pleased with the profession and being a human service provider. But the consideration for me is what stood out above and beyond everybody. Being therapeutic foster parents, we had so many kids on the spectrum or lightly Asperger's or whatever the case may be, but we had to give them the consideration that they deserved. And I think that's where we as a society fall short on all people. We lack the consideration that every individual person needs. And when it comes to our children that are on the spectrum, it's that consideration, knowing that, you know, the loud noises, that they love structure, that they are very organized and scheduled. Like, these things need to be considered. And if we do that, they can have a very fruitful upbringing, very fruitful life. But, you know, if we lack that consideration, lack that, you know, consciousness for them, then that's where, you know, we kind of fall short. So we advocate for, you know, ASL, for autism, all type of things that our children aren't necessarily affected by, but we think that, you know, they all deserve that consideration. And I think that's what made us kind of stand out above and beyond other parents in that field. We were willing to learn, willing to be acceptable to their individuality, and, you know, always willing to put our best foot forward when it comes to our kids. So shout out to everybody lighting up the blue, and, you know, keep thriving.
So, Sherri, you told me you have a story.
Okay, so Seth got his driver's license last
Yay!
week, which is a huge, you know, kudos and task and everything involved.
Yeah. Look at him back there.
He loves
He's
having his
being a
freedom.
ham.
He loves having his freedom. He likes, you know, when, you know, it's a Saturday and there's nothing going on, he can go to the track and watch the races. You know, he can go hang out with his friends. I don't have to haul him everywhere.
Right.
You know, especially when he works until 10 o'clock at night, I don't have to go pick him up. He has a vehicle and he can drive himself home.
Yeah.
Well, one evening, now I drive a little red Civic, kind of a sports car. He took my car to work. And he was leaving work, and it was about 10:30, and we have this intersection where it's turning out onto a 60-mile-per-hour road with no ramp. And it's one of those, when you see the spot, you take it. You can't like stall too long. It was a dead at night. He had the spot, and he did a rolling stop, and he went on out, and a female police officer pulled him over.
Seth, you got a ticket.
The worst thing about it is because he couldn't process it enough to be able to verbalize. And she kept saying, "Why are you acting so nervous? Why are you acting so nervous?" And she was only making the situation worse.
Exactly.
It really needs to be on the driver's license, autistic individual, high functioning autistic, something so that these officers know they cannot treat these people this way. Because he sat there and he said he cried for 30 minutes just sitting there because he didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And then he couldn't come home for 2 hours because he was so flustered by it.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart. It made me want to go into mama bear mode and go down to the police station and say, "What the hell were you thinking?" You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is one of those things that, you know, as a parent, we need to be out there and advocating for them in this sense and saying, you know, this needs to be a change. This is something that needs to be put on the driver's license. This is something that the police officers need to be trained in.
Yeah.
So that they're not.
Exactly.
I mean, because it was so hard on him. And, you know, had she seen that, and had she just said, "Okay, you know, I need to ask you a couple questions. It's okay," you know, but she didn't.
Right.
She went, you know, and that just killed him. And like I said, as a parent, it just devastated me. Because there's nothing I can do. It's 10:30 at night. I wasn't even in the car.
Right. Seth, did you pay your ticket? So it's very interesting that you were talking about that, because King and I are working on a show talking about safety in law enforcement. So that's going to be one of the things we're going to cover. He has some ideas that will be able to be implemented in different police departments. So it would be good if you guys can come on and share your story for that one when we put it together. So we definitely going to be talking about that, and not just with driving, just walking on the streets. I have a lot of clips of issues that have happened, and not just with high functioning adults, but with ones that's on the lower end when they're wandering off. doing things and people don't understand. They're having a STEMmy session or, a tantrum, you know what I mean? And they don't know how to deal with it. We're definitely going to be talking about that. And I have some things, some information and some things that I'm working on that parents can actually purchase to make sure that when they're in a car, home, walking, that the child is being identified. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that. We're going to be working on that. But yeah. Now, transportation for me, Mr. Caleb will not be able to drive, but I do have a story. Story time. Jesus. Story time, Mr. Caleb. Mr. Caleb was like 8 years old. So he was in the front seat. So I guess he was watching mommy shift gear, changing the gears and everything. So we're on the highway. 81, matter of fact. And I'm flying. Guess what Mr. Caleb did? Child, he pulls the car went in reverse. On the highway. I was like, jeez. Child. My son almost killed us. Because he was so he wanted to do the.
He was curious, Mama.
He was curious. Stop! Don't laugh. I was so scared. My heart was in my feet. I was like, oh my God. We started going back.
You missed it. He wasn't concerned about you and Caleb. He said that poor car.
I sound.
And for him, it's all about the car. That's
it's all about the car. Okay, look. So that is my transportation story. All right. I know you got something. I know you got to go, sister. Let's go through this. Last two. We did the puberty. We did the group home. Let's do this one.
Water problem is when they're small, everybody seems to want to work with them, but when they get to a certain age and they become adults, they're not as much fun to work with anymore. And there's no place for them to go after school.
I need to stop her right there. That statement right there, what he just said, is like profound. You have all the services in the world when they're small, but when they get older, it's like, or you on your own now, parent. I just had to stop right there because that hit home. Like, oh my God, when they're small, you get everybody wants to work with them. Everybody wants to do for them. They want those services at you. But then when they start to age out, it's like, forget about you. Oh God, that's making me cry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, but you're right.
But
it's a valid point.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the video.
Water problem is when they're small, everybody seems to want to work with them, but when they get to a certain age and they become adults, they're not as much fun to work with anymore. And there's no place for them to go after school.
Our son Andy is 29 years old and he has autism. He's sweet and kind, but he gets angry sometimes. We love him for who he is, and he is the reason we started this journey. The future is the big thing for us with Andy. We don't know where he'll live, what he's going to do.
What happens to him when we're no longer here? That's our biggest fear. And Ruth knew Hannah was autistic when she was about 6 months old. Nobody had to tell her. She knew from the eye contact, the whole bit.
Hannah is sweet and funny and kind, and she is energetic and loves life in general, which is fun. People like to be around her because of that. So she's 20 right now. Kids get to go to school till their 22nd birthday, and then she'll graduate from school, and we're trying to prepare as best we can for that, which is enormous. We are responsible for doing everything. So without the direct care staff, our days are filled with caring for the kids.
Biggest fear we have in life. What happens when we're not here any longer? I mean, we can't tell you how many times Ruth and I have looked at each other and said, do you think we're doing the right thing for the kids? I mean, do you think the kids are going to be all right once we're gone? I mean,
When he was young, we started a behavior analysis program for him. You know, when you have a child who speaks and then suddenly the speech starts dropping off and dropping off and dropping off, you don't know what's happening. And you have to work hard. We went to therapeutic services to try to get some of that back, which some of it did come back, but not in the same way. So Andy, you know, he's made a lot of progress. He is less aggressive. He's able to be in social situations much more. He's able to interact with people. When he meets another person, he'll put his hand out to shake their hand. He's able to work functionally at a job now, just a few hours a week, but we're happy with that. He's learning more about, I think, just human interaction, which is wonderful.
Well, thank you, sir.
All right. I just love bath bombs. We were spending, I don't know, it's like $8 a bath bomb. And I finally said, let's make them at home. And we found out she enjoyed the process. So we decided to try it.
Is it done? Yes.
Yes?
Okay. Nice. 2 stickers. Yeah, 2 stickers.
I think for her, she's able to absorb the fact that, hey, I'm making something that is giving me return. So we hope that that will sink in a little bit more. Andy loves bubblegum. He loves blue bubblegum balls the most. So the bubblegum ball vending machine business is brand new. And we hope that that will help him integrate into the community more functionally. And the people won't view him as just a consumer of things, and rather somebody who's giving back. They do want to be part of the group. They just don't know how.
they just want an everyday normal life, just like everybody else has.
What do y'all think about the clip?
You know, for starters, it's heartbreaking because, yeah, these are thoughts you think about all the time, whether you want to or not. You know, even knowing that he'll probably be on his own one day, I still worry. But one of the things that we did from a very early age is create a business that he's part of.
Exactly. Yep.
Because I want him to always feel as needed, wanted, part of the family, you know, a way to keep going. So the fact that, you know, they were doing this with their kids is great. And it makes me feel validated because, you know, sometimes you wonder, is this the right avenue to take? And you question yourself. But yeah, the whole thing of when I'm gone, what happens? That just...
Yeah, just like we were talking about earlier, the list of the things that we talk about, we think about like from the beginning. These are the things that run through our minds.
Yeah.
Especially for, you know, those because like I know if I worked with a couple of parents where their child is like very severe on the spectrum. And, you know, like our sons, they pretty, you know, Caleb, he do his thing, child. He did regret, you know, self doing this thing. And when you have to have that constant supervision, you know, 24-hour, and, you know, as parents, we feel like nobody can take care of our kids like us, you know what I mean? so you worry, like, are they going to treat them well, you know what I mean? So I, you know, when I saw, it's like today when I was looking for clips, it was like God was just putting the right clips in my path, like right there. I was like, oh my God, it's the perfect one. So what would be your advice for a parent that is in that space? What would be your advice to them?
I'm not really sure because I struggle with it myself. I mean, you want to have all your paperwork in order. You want to have all your ducks in a row for starters. That's the most important thing you can do. The second, depending on where your child falls on the spectrum, you need to have talks with them. They need to understand, especially if you have health issues like I do.
Right.
You know, they need to understand that this could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And what should they do in that case?
It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. It's all
So, like I said, this is something I'm battling with. So
right. I
it's
know.
really hard for me to give advice on this because I'm
Mhm.
struggling with it on my own, trying to figure out how to go through this and how to do this.
Mhm.
Um, because it all weighs in the back of my head. What happens if this happens? What happens if this happens? What happens if this happens? And it doesn't matter how well I have everything lined up. It doesn't feel like it's ever going to be right.
Yeah, trust me, I'm there with you. So I'm. It's like we think we're gonna live forever.
It's going to be nice.
Think we're gonna be, you know what I mean? And so I mean, and just taking this out of being an autism parent, but being a parent, just a regular parent, we worry about that. As I watched, taking care of my parents and then watch my mom transition, and I'm thinking to myself, and like I have a picture of Mr. Caleb saying his byes to his grandma before she closed her eyes, and it's like he knew that was happening. He just kissed her on her forehead, and I put myself in that place, like who's going to be there for him when I do that? You know what I mean? Because you never know, like, you have family around or whatever, but you think about those things. Then what happens to them if I'm sick, or if, just like we talked about earlier, I'm bedridden or whatever, who's going to be there? So those of us that, that have a significant other or a spouse or something, we pretty much can rely on them. But there are times when, okay, so if he has to go to work and I'm laying up in the bed in the hospital, who's home with the kid? You know what I mean? So he's like, so it's that, but it's a lot to think about as a parent altogether when you're thinking about you, because we think, we're still young, I'm just 40 something, so actually, but you never know, when things can happen, and then you have to think about not just yourself, but you have to think about the survival of the whole family, and then adding on a child with a disability or a young adult with a disability, that adds another layer of worry and frustration. Yeah, so definitely. So speaking of game, doing productions. Brother, speaking from a father's standpoint, I know you don't, but you and sis have worked with kids with disabilities and stuff, so you know the ins and outs of it. And of course, with Mr. Caleb, you pretty much know a lot. So, what would be your advice from the outside looking in, and as a parent as a whole, would be your advice for planning for or worrying about the future when things happen? What would be your words of encouragement and advice for that?
I think it would be the same, as I have for quote unquote normies. They grow up. They grow up. We have to consider that. And where I come in this is when we went upstate and the missus started working in one of those facilities, just what he said in that video, it's fun when they're little, but then they get older. I saw so many people that had family that didn't check on them, that, weren't there to be a support system to show that these people have people that care about them, that are conscious in their life, that worry about their best interests and well-being. And that's what was so operative for me. And as I sit here, most of our godchildren are on the spectrum.
Oh
And
wow!
like I tell you, sis, forget about my kids. The people who came to us and said, if something happened to us, we want
Right,
you to
right.
be that person for our children. And some are on the spectrum. It says a lot. It's the consideration that's needed. Again, we were willing to understand that we might not be the normies. We call ourselves normies. They are a little more sophisticated, savant-like, astute, pay more attention to, more honest. So who's really more sophisticated and evolved in this
Mhm.
thing we call life? So, we were always willing to consider that. And I think we have to understand that our children get older, even the ones that are on the spectrum. We have to put measures in place. We have to look consciously at life. We have to understand what midlife is and move accordingly and set measures in place and be organic and loving and caring so that we attract like-minded people in our lives.
Right. Yeah.
Meeting you was one of the best things Baltimore has done for us. And whatever we say about Baltimore, it has brought positive things into our life. So I think we have to always consider that we might not always be here, but we have to make connections and relationships and find people that care about us, care about our families. And like, Sherri alluded to, it's very scary to think about some facilities that don't, run on the level, that don't operate by the book.
Yeah.
So, that's when vetting comes in. We have to be even better vetters, even better judges of character, even better tapping into intuition and working off that gut feeling. But, these are our children and these are our special children. So we have to put special measures in place and give special considerations and tap into that special consciousness. So that's what we wave our flag. Just remember that everybody that's young grows old, hopefully. And we have to be conscious and aware of that, put the proper measures in place. This is a great conversation.
Yeah. That was a heavy one. Shout out to Rick for the $5 super chat. Thank you, Brother Ricky, for coming through. Hi, Brother Ricky. He says no one makes it out of this thing alive. Oh yeah, but yeah, that's life. Okay, so I know sis is having a birth trouble. So let's. I mean, she has to go in a little bit. Let me go right through to.
Yeah, I need to get going here really soon. So
I got this last video, and then we just want to, do our last round. It's this last video I want to see. What was it? We did plan on this one. This one.
This is the result of my autistic son, Andrew, who went into a rage.
Unfortunately for Pam and her husband, Brian, rages are common for their 2 adult children with autism.
He lets things come to a boiling point, and then he reacts physically to that, either by lashing out in this manner, or unfortunately, he will resort to self-harm.
Michael is 22, Andrew 21, and both have the mind of a 3 or 4-year-old. Are you afraid of your kids?
I am.
Brian Muad, a successful attorney in Macomb County, says he can't control their behavior, and sometimes they just run out of the house.
We've had to call the police a couple of times for that reason alone.
Sometimes the cops bring them home. Other times they end up in the hospital where they are admitted, medicated, and sent back home, often when insurance won't pay anymore.
They need 24-hour, round-the-clock residential care.
But the reality is, 24-hour care for adults with autism is lacking.
We're having trouble getting staff.
Lisa Lapine is the executive director of the ARC of Macomb County, a nonprofit dedicated to those people and families with developmental disabilities. And she says staffing rates to assist parents must go up. How much is it?
Well, right now, average rate of pay is usually around $10 to $12. And when I can go...
$10 to $12? How much should they get paid?
In my opinion, anywhere from $25 to $30 an hour.
Do you think that's realistic?
It's not currently realistic, but I hope that we can make it realistic.
The Macomb County Health Department does have services and support within their network, but they acknowledge there's a staffing shortage and is working with the state to recruit and retain qualified staff. Yet for now,
We have no alternative but to call the police. Then in turn, they're taken to a hospital. And that's just a revolving door. At best, it puts a Band-Aid on the problem. It doesn't resolve anything. Nothing.
In St. Clair Shores, Charlie Langton, Fox 2 News.
All right, Sherri, what you think about that clip?
That hands down is the number one problem. To give you a clue, around here in West Virginia, we deal with DRS, which is Department of Rehabilitative Services. Since now Seth graduated in 23, and since being introduced to DRS in 21, he has gone through 4 representatives. Because they don't pay enough, and they don't have anybody there to assist these people who need help. I've not dealt with the ARC. I know the ARC is up in Maryland, which is right over the border. Because when I work in Maryland still, and I've had people come in and I talk about Seth being on the spectrum all the time. And I had a lady from ARC. She goes, we have all of these services available, and I'm like, I'm in West Virginia. And that's the other bad thing is I think there needs to be more forgiving about going over the borders. There needs to be the health systems need to be more able to work together. Because right now I have Loudoun County, Virginia, less than a mile away from where I live. And literally there are so many services there that I can't access them. I can't
Right.
access anything in Maryland. And what we
Right.
have here, no one is staying staffed.
Mm-hmm.
They can't pay them enough and keep them staffed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's like what we talked about earlier. You know, the services, the lack of services, or, if you're not in the right city or you're not in the right state, a lot of services you may not have. And some states are better, are better equipped. And then you have some states that are not. So sometimes you may have to move in order to get what your child needs. I mean, you have to leave that up for a possibility to do that.
It's really hard as a single parent, though.
It is. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
hard. I mean, I couldn't just pick up and move right now if I wanted to.
Right.
So,
Back there shaking his
plus, as you know what it's like when you change the routine and you change things. I mean, before I moved over here, I had to put it in Seth's head for probably a year that we were moving so that he would understand, that we were going to be moving.
Right. So yeah. I have remember the questions I'm talking about. So this is going to be our last 3 questions, and this is going to be solely for Sherri. So I need you to answer questions. I need you to go. Let's see. What is helping you get through the transition?
One, we have been working with DRS. They have been a help when I can get a hold of them. And we have had several appointments. Seth just had a new psych evaluation that we have to discuss to get accommodations to go to trade school. 2, I don't have a lot of family, and the family I have is my mom, and my mom lives about 6 miles away. It's why I moved to West Virginia, so I have a support system. And she's been a huge help in the transition because beyond that, and I've also learned the hard way that self-care is paramount.
Yeah, we got a show coming up about that too. Yeah.
So often as parents, we put our own needs on the back burner and we don't take care of ourselves.
Exactly.
And I went through probably a 6 month, and I'm not prone to depression. I went through 6 months of depression and I was in sad shape.
Yeah.
And I learned the hard way that, self-care needs to be foremost in my life in order to be able to help him.
Right.
So I have started making sure that I allot for downtime in this house. I make sure I allot for time for meditation and time for me, and time away from Seth as well. And that's really, really hard. When he was little, I didn't get that at all. Now I can actually get out with a friend in an evening and enjoy myself a little bit. And that has helped a lot. And those are the things that have gotten me through the transition.
Awesome. Now, here's the other question. What I wish I knew. How would you answer?
I wish I knew. I wish, not so much that I knew, I wish there was more, which we've gone through this, more assistance available for the parents. There's assistance for the kids, and even as adults, if we search them out, we can find them, but there's nothing for us to help us, just to help, I'm constantly calling DRS, what's the next step? And well, that's on you. You have to do this, you have to do that. And it's like, I work full time. I work 2 jobs. I take care of him. Somewhere I have to have a little help as well.
Yeah.
So it's not so much what I knew. It's just wish I had more help.
So the last question is, what would you have done differently?
I think I would have relied more on people when they offered help when he was younger. So many times I can do this, I'll just manage alone. And I think that's what turned me into the major mama bear in high school, because I started learning that said things could be done and no one was telling me they could be done, but I learned that they could. So I started fighting more. And I wish I'd had more people. I wish I'd listened and let more people help fight with me, because I had senators willing to help me. I had, different autism, awareness groups willing to help me, and I never allowed them. I took it on myself, and I think if I had done that, I probably would have gotten a little less stress in my life.
I was on mute. So, Sherri, I'm going to give you the floor, and so you can say your final words. Anything you want to say, any encouragement, any advice, anything you would like to say. Even Steph, if you want to say something, you can too. So I'm going to give you the floor.
No. For starters, thank you for having me on. It means a lot to me to be able to advocate, for autism. The things I want to say is to the parents out there who are struggling, who feel like they're doing it alone. You're not alone. You have to do a little homework. There are groups out there. There are Facebook groups. There are local town groups. I mean, you may have to travel 20, 30 minutes to get to them, but there are groups in different towns. There are other parents in your same shoes. And if you learn to make friends with those people and have somebody, even if it's nothing more, just to have somebody to kind of vent to, because oftentimes if you vent it out, you're releasing some of the tension and stress in your life, but also they may have some really good advice to give back to you to help. Yes. And don't ever feel like you have to do it your way. If somebody offers you advice, at least try it, because sometimes that advice can be so much better than what you thought you had to do. But just keep your hope. I mean, I was told when he was in high school, his guidance counselor said, "Oh, my son is just like him. He's living on his own, going to college." And I thought, there is no way on God's green earth this child is ever going to live on his own.
Right.
But now I'm sitting here saying that I think one day I see it'll happen. They do change, they do grow. And as they change, we don't lose problems, we just change problems. Exactly. But learn to pivot and go with it, because they're blessings in our lives.
Yes, I totally agree. Thank you so much, Sherri. Thank you, Steph, for coming by.
Thank you.
Brother, do you have any last words to say?
This was great. Thank you for letting me just be here for this. Thank both of you for the information and the consideration that you give to your children and the other children. Appreciate y'all.
So thank you guys for tuning in for this period of sharing, caring, information, resources. I would definitely add a lot of the information that we talked about and some things that we kind of didn't talk about, but I'll put it in the description anyway so that you can check it out yourself. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and all that other jazz. And thank you, Sherri, again for coming through. Brother, thank you for coming through. And it's in the middle of the day. I know a lot of people still working. So thank you guys for tuning in. And I think we have something later on tonight, I think. Yes, sharing the diagnosis will be airing tonight. Some tips on how to talk with your child. Talk with family members and friends, school representatives as well. Sharing your child's diagnosis. A lot of parents have a little bit of trouble of dealing with that their own self, and trying to explain it to other people can be hard. So that will be airing tonight. So we're just going to close out, and so everybody have a blessed day. And I hope that this conversation was helpful to someone. And I will see you guys on the next one.
Woo! It's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging it. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging it. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, who don't play, 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 play. Who don't play, 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 play. Who mission, they say that I'm tripping. I've been told I need a vacation, I'm finessing a visit. First class, my feet up high in the air on business, yeah. Cover the city, your city ain't working, it's all for nothing. She told me don't let up, it's on us to make it, it's on us to crush it. Nigga, it's gon' take some just to make some, so put that in your budget. Yeah, can't keep moving your dreams for cheap when you ain't even buzzing. What got you bugging? Make you a play, don't be scared, I'm religion. You made it from nothing, then figure out your clutching. Everything you want in front of you, ain't no discussion. Look, it's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, who don't play, 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 play. Who don't play, 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 play. Who don't play, play, play. Who don't play, play.
It's been a long time coming. Track star, long time running. I exterminate foes, they bugging. I'm joke, I want my nuggets, gold, platinum chain. Call them Johnny Dang, dog, with my brains. I go off like hurricanes until my diamonds look like rain. My verses, gas, I'm on it, spaz. The business, cash, no money, pass. Kenny said I need a verse, I said give me like 30, I did it in 15 for real. I've been on fire, they want me to chill. I've been on fire, they want me to.
Look, it's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, who don't play, play, play. 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 Who don't, yeah. It's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging it. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging it. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, who don't play, play, play. Who don't play, play, play. Who don't play, play, play. Who don't play, play. Who don't? Long time coming, black on the bottom of my feet from running. Cataracts under my eyes from hustling. Going from buying and selling to customers. Run up the business, God is my witness. Sun up to sun up from Monday to Sunday. We matching the limits. My mind running like Tom Cruise on an action movie. Moving a mission, they say that I'm tripping. I've been told I need a vacation, I'm finessing a visit. First class, my feet up high in the air on business. Yeah, cover the city, your city ain't working, it's all for nothing. She told me don't let up, it's on us to make it, it's on us to crush it. Nigga, it's gon' take some just to make some, so put that in your budget. Yeah, can't keep moving your dreams for cheap when you ain't even budging. What got you bugging? Make you a play, don't be scared, I'm religion. You made it from nothing, then figure out your clutching. Everything you want in front of you, ain't no discussion. Look, it's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, who don't play, play, play. Who don't play, play, play.